Hello, and we are back for another episode of Sneak Previews. And in this video, we will be looking at the blue and black portions of this. Just make sure everything's going. All right. We'll share this on Twitter. I will have my live chat open if you join me and you want to ask a question. Feel free to ask. So go ahead and send that tweet out. All right. So we're going to get through blue and black. I believe black is right after this. Yep. Okay, so that first video, the only reason I only did white was because it was sort of a test run of this. I wanted to make sure everything was up and up, good to go. So, all right. So, starting at the beginning of blue, we have the All-Seeing Arbiter for 6 mana total. Flying Avatar. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Already, I can tell you, I might see some potential for that. When you discard a card, target creature and opponent control gets -X, -0 until the next turn, where X is the number of different mana values among cards in your graveyard. Okay. I can see it being useful just for getting stuff into the graveyard. A lot of things that'll let you play things out of your graveyard. But moving on. Next we have Backstreet Bruiser. 2 mana for a 3/3. That I actually kind of like. Except it's a defender, of course. As long as there are 2 or more counters among creatures you control, Backstreet Bruiser can attack as though it didn't have defender. So basically, it's a modified card for blue. I wish we gotten this in Kamigawa. Moving on. Broker's Veteran for 2 mana. When Broker's Veteran dies, put a shield counter on target creature you control. If you don't remember, shield counters basically is like a temporary indestructible. Just if it would be destroyed, if it would be dealt damage, you basically negate that, remove the shield counter. Case the Joint. For 4 mana, draw 2 cards, then look at the top card of each player's library. I don't see people using that. Yeah, you get 2 cards. It might be usable late game, but I feel like at that point, people are gonna want. I don't know. I feel like it's just much better ways you could draw cards. And the only extra bonus is you get to scry each player's deck. Only you don't get to actually change whether the card's on top or bottom. You basically just get a peek at what's coming. But you get a peek at your own deck too, so I mean. Next up, cut your losses. Again, for 6 mana. Casualty 2. As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with a power of 2 or greater. When you do, copy this spell. You may choose a new target for the copy. Target player mills half their library rounded down. Now here's my question. When you cast this, okay, so you sacrifice, let's say 2/2. But let's say you have 5 2/2s. And you get a copy of this spell. Do you get casualty again? Well, no, wait. I think creating a copy of this spell would not give you, because you're not technically casting the copy, you're creating a copy from nothing. So they only get to do it once. There are not a lot of good cards for Mill nowadays, though. Mill's kind of dying out. I mean, in the past, 2 months, I've maybe gone up against 3 Mill decks, and they haven't been fast enough to kill my decks, so. Disdainful Stroke. For 2 mana. Counter target spell with mana value of 4 or greater. So this would make that useless. And that useless. And that useless. See what I'm getting at? It would just counter most anything. Next up, you have Echo Inspector. For 4 mana. Another card that would be useless, because you could just counter it with Disdainful Stroke. Flying, 2/3 bird rogue. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. Draw a card, then discard a card. If you card you discarded is a non-land card, put a 1/1 counter on him. So basically, when he comes into play, you can make him a 3/4, potentially. Huh. This kind of seems redundant. Let's read it. Errant Street Artist. Legendary creature, human rogue. Flash Defender, and this is the part that's confusing me, haste. Why? For a colorless and a blue, tap it. Copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new That wasn't cast. So, I mean, I suppose you could use this with this. You play this. You sacrifice a creature. Then they mill half their deck. Then, before it resolves, once you create a copy, you bring in this. Tap another 2. So that's another 3 mana total. And this. To copy the copied spell you just played. So now your opponent has to cut their deck in half, cut their deck in half, cut their deck in half. So if they have 40 cards, that brings them down to 20, down to 10, down to 5. So basically, I'm saying this really is going to either see a lot of play with red, or it's going to see a lot of play with mill. Even the score, 3 blue and X. When this spell costs 3 blue less if you cast if an opponent has drawn 4 or more cards this turn. Draw X cards. Well, this card, we're going to go back up here, I believe. No, I think it was in white. Yeah, Skycrier. That's the card it's going to go well with. But that costs 4 mana, so, I mean, unless you can make that not cost 4 mana or make 4 mana nothing for you to pay. But then why would you want to draw the extra cards? You'd be killing off your own deck. See, that's the other thing I look at too. When I look at cards, I don't just look at, standard. I just don't look at Commander, which a lot of YouTubers do. There's a YouTuber I watch usually every time a new set comes out. Strictly Better MTG. I watch his videos all the time. And there's just so many cards. Like, 90% of the cards he goes through, he's like, oh, this card's good in Commander, but it's not good in anything else. It's like, dude, why are you even reviewing cards if you are just going to keep saying they're not good in Standard? The entire reason they're making a set is to make the set work off the actual set it's on, not to work with the other sets. If you can make it work with the other sets, great, wonderful, but they don't design it that way. They design the set to work with the set. So the rules and stuff that they're putting into this are mainly here to focus on this. Are there other cards from previous sets that it can work with? Of course there are. Are there other cards that can break some of these? Of course there are. I talked about in my previous sneak peek video, I discussed a card, Halo Fountain, and how broken it would be if you had a creature that could tap to untap an artifact. Guess what? I'm absolutely positive in the past we've had a card like that. I don't know if there's one currently in Standard, but I do know we have a card like that. And Halo Fountain untaps a creature when you tap it. So, you tap it, you untap the creature. Is that going to be workable in Standard? Maybe. I don't know. But I could definitely tell you it is probably vintage, legacy. I'm sure there's stuff that's going to work for that. But moving on. Lackey. Exile Lackey for 2 mana from your graveyard. Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. This creature can't be blocked. Activate only as a sorcery. This would probably be good in a ninja deck. I don't know what they're going for in this deck, though. And mainly just because then you get the 1/1 blue that's unblockable. Yeah, and by the way, what happened to that term? Why are we doing this long, stupid term? This creature can't be blocked. Unblockable creatures were unblockable. Like, nothing can block them. Now, Shroud was... Creatures with Shroud could only be blocked by other creatures with Shroud. But here, can we just go back to being unblockable? Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token with unblockable. Boom. Fairy Vandal for 2 mana. It's a 1/2. Flash, fly. When you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Fairy Vandal. I'm pretty sure we've had that card before. It sounds very reminiscent to an older card. Hypnotic Grifter for 1 blue. It's a human rogue that's a 1/2. For 3 mana, he can connives. Draw a card, then discard a card. If the discarded card would be a non-land, put a 1/1 counter on here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to keep it. I'm just going to say connives. Then you got Ledger Shredder. For 2 mana, it's a 1/3 bird advisor. With flying, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, Shredder connives. That's not too bad. I don't think it should be a rare. I mean, uncommon maybe, but I could definitely see that being played in maybe draft. Definitely, I can see some uses for that in standard. A little chat for 1 blue, 1 colorless, casualty 1. It's an instant. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. So, you play this and sack a creature to look at the top 2 cards, pick one, and put it into your hand. So basically to draw 1 card. To basically mini ponder, you're going to cost me 2 mana and a creature. That creature better be like Witch or Twitch, whatever. The little bat. That way, at least when it dies, I'm getting an extra effect since you're taking away my first creature that I dropped down. Not a fan of this. I'm sure people might use it, but depends what else there is in this set. Majestic Metamorphosis for 3 mana. Till end of turn, target artifact or creature becomes a 4/4 angel artifact creature token and gains flying. Wow. Wow. Holy crap. Wow. So basically, you turn this into that creature, and then you tap it to untap it. Then you tap it to untap it. I mean, go ahead. Tell me. Tell me I'm wrong. But you turn an artifact or creature, and it becomes a 4/4 angel artifact creature. And gains flying. And you get to draw a card on top of it. Throw in a world tree, 5 other lands. Play this turn 6. You won the game. I dare somebody to ask me how. Too bad we don't have people watching live. Make disappear. Casualty 1. Again with the casualties. So sacrifice something with a power of 1. Well, I guess the casualties you get to duplicate it. But still, even here for a little chat, you get 1 card out of 2, and it's costing you a creature, and then you get to what? Do it again? So then you get to look at the next 2 cards. Here you get to counter a spell, unless this controller pays 2. But even if they do, they've only played 1 spell. What are you going to copy it? They'd have to change something. Because this is going to go off the stack after it's done resolving. And I know it's a choice. You don't have to sacrifice the creature, but what was even the point of putting it on the counter spell? Most people are smart enough to know, oh, well, play 1 at a time. I'm not going to chain. And if you don't chain, then they're going to just let their 1 spell go through once it's good, then move on. I don't know. I just think that it could have been used for a better spell than that. Basically a mana leak. Obscura Initiate. Bird Citizen flying. And for 2, it gains lifelink until end of turn. One of those 2 must be a black or a white. Oh, that's so... surprised they did that. With how woke the company has been getting from what I hear. At least with D&D, I think they're getting... I've heard they're getting pretty woke. Oh, we didn't do the last one. An offer you can't refuse. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Okay. Thanks for the mana help. Oh, and there's a card later on that's so broken. Like, I know they're really hoping to ban it, like, already. And when I get to it and I tell you what it could be used with, They're gonna ban it. I can see this deck forming in my mind. I already figured out how to break this deck. Now I just need cards to fill it up with. Out of the way. For 4 mana, this spell costs 2 less. If target is a green permanent, return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand and draw a card. If it targets a green permanent. So if you're running a blue-green deck, this could be... Well, no, because you got to return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. But then you get to draw a card. Could work. Psionic Snoop. Psionic Snoop costs 3. It's a 0/3. Flash. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. Psychic Pickpocket. For 5 mana, when it enters the battlefield, it connives. When it connives this way, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. I'm not really big on this whole... I mean, that makes some of these other cards like, oh, it draws? So what? So do a lot of the other cards in this series. That's the one I'm looking forward to. I should just tell you right now. But let's go to Public Enemy. For 3 mana, enchant creature. All creatures attack enchanted creatures controller each combat if able. When the enchanted creature dies, draw a card. I can see that being helpful. I mean, you get a free card off it, and it definitely puts that person in line of fire. So, Reservoir Kraken for 4 mana. It's a 6/6 with trample and more 2. At the beginning of each combat, if Kraken is untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, Reservoir Kraken, tap Kraken, and create a blue fish creature token that can't be blocked. I like that. That I can see getting a lot of play. I'd like to pull a playset of those on day 1. On Arena, because I don't collect as the physical cards much anymore. They hardly sell them in my area. So Arena is really the only way for me to play. Rooftop Nuisance. 1 blue, 2 colorless. Casualty 1. Tap target creature. Doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Draw a card. Holy crap, blue's got a ton of freaking draw power. Jeez. They're like, oh, you've been bitching that you don't get enough draws from blue? Okay, well, here you go. Run out of town. For 4 mana, the owner of target non-land permanent puts it on top or bottom of their library. It could be good. I wish it let you decide. Instead of letting your... letting the owner decide. Because if I want to slow them down, they're not going to put it on the bottom. They're going to put it right back on top. In which case, why am I wasting 4 mana to play it? Now, it can ultimately save something of mine, so I could play it next turn. I don't know. I just think it should have been maybe upgraded to a uncommon, or just cost 3 mana or something. 4 mana seems a little steep for that. Especially when it's not going to probably help you much out anyway. Security Bypass. 2 mana. Enchanted creature. As long as enchanted creature is attacking alone, it can't be blocked. Enchanted creature has, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, it connives. That might see some play. Especially with maybe samurais. People who have been wanting to add in blue for some reason. Sewer Crocodile for 6 mana. When pay 4 more mana, can't be blocked this turn. This ability costs 3 less to activate if there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard. Now, when they say that, are they talking like this is a 4, this is a 2, this is a 6, this is a 1? I think that's what they mean, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure that's what they mean. Sleep with the fishes. Yeah, geez, they're really going all hard out with this Mafia, 1940s. For 4 mana, enchant creature. When Sleep with the Fishes enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature and you create a 1/1 fish. Can't be blocked. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Slip out the back. Put a 1/1 counter on a creature. It phases out. Treat it and anything attached to it as though they don't exist until the controller's next turn. That could be a good save, I think. Now, here's my question, because I haven't really played a lot with the phase out yet, and this is the first time I think it's really going to come into play. So let's say I have a 2/2 green creature on the field. Okay. And my opponent targets that with a black, let's say murder. They target it with murder. And then I play this on that. So mine phases out. But since it's already the target of the murder, does it still die? Or does it fizzle out? I want to say it would fizzle out because it no longer basically exists. It's a ghost. So the murder would just go right through it. So that's what I'm thinking, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. I'm pretty sure, in which case this is going to see a lot of play. A whole lot of play with blue. Undercover Operative for 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, it enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with a shield counter on it if you control that creature. So basically, when you bring it into play, it becomes a copy of something. But if it's something that you control, then it gets extra boost because it gets the shield. If not, it just is a copy of that thing. I definitely see that getting a lot of play, by the way. Hey, we're almost to the end of blues. Wing Shield Agent. I think it's just because it says Shield Agent. That just makes me kind of smile. For 3 mana, it's a 2/3. When it enters the battle, or it enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it, when it attacks, whenever it attacks, up to one other target creature gains flying until end of turn. That could definitely see some play, I think. It's not too bad. Wiretapping for 5 mana. Hideaway 5. When you draw your first card during each of your draw steps, draw a card. So basically, you get 2 cards. Then, if you have 9 or more cards in hand, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. That's pretty good. And Witness Protection. So 1 blue, enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green-white citizen creature with a base toughness of 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. Okay. That's interesting. Why not just make him like a citizen? Why change the name to Legitimate Business? Okay, whatever. Loses all other colors, card types, creature types, and names. That I could see getting some play. I'm probably gonna play that. Probably gonna play that with my. I love the enchantment decks from Kami, so gonna probably play that there. All right, now moving on to black. So for 5 mana, we start off with a mythic. Angel of Suffering. Flying Nightmare Angel. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent all that damage and mill twice that many cards. So your opponent is attacking with 3 1/1s, all with Death Touch. You can decide not to block them, let them all attack you, and while you take no damage, you do mill the next 6 cards in your deck. Not too sure about that one. 6 is a lot more than just taking the 3 damage. Huh. Anyways, Body Launderer for 4 mana. It's a 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launderer connives. When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with equal or less power from your graveyard to the battlefield. I'm guessing equal or less power than him. So, something that's 3 or less. Cemetery Tampering, cost 3, it's an enchantment. It's got Hideaway 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. If there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. Probably not going to see a lot of play from that one. Mostly because it's going to, I mean, unless there's a lot of cards here that work on making you have a big graveyard, I don't see that getting a lot of play. Corrupt Court Official for 2 mana, it's a 1/1. Oh, yeah, by the way, no citizens in that. Human Advisor. Corrupt Court Official enters the battlefield. Target opponent discards a card. I'm getting tired of these discard cards recently. A lot more people have been playing that. Crooked Custodian for 2 mana. It's a 3/2. That's not too bad. When it enters the battlefield tapped. Okay. That would be a good one to go with the Halo fountain. Because it would enter tapped, then the Halo fountain would untap it and give you another creature. Cut of the Prophets. 2 black and an X. This has a sorcery. It's a casualty 3. You draw X cards and lose X life. Not sure about that one. Might see play. I'd have to see how people use it. You may pay 1 life. When you do, Cutthroat Contender gets +1/+0 till end of turn, but you can only activate it once each turn. Why? Why? If you're paying life, let them pay 19 times. I don't care. Why are you going to say they can only activate it once each turn? It's a 1/1. So, best is you can make it a 2/1. Probably not going to see a lot of play since we currently have a lot better cards. Even once the vampires from the previous sets are gone, this is probably not going to see a lot of play. Deal Gone Bad. 4 mana, target creature gets -3/-3 till end of turn. Target player mills 3 cards. That probably will see a lot of play. Demon's Due for 4 mana. You scry 2, then draw 2, then lose 2 life. Probably will see some play. Dig Up the Body. I think, honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think they had leftover stuff from the Innistrad block that they wanted to use but didn't use. And I think they are like, okay, well, we'll mix it with this and this is how we'll bring it in. Because this Dig Up the Body looks like it should have been in the Innistrad block. The more recent one with the vampires. Dig Up the Body costs 3. It's an instant with casualty 1. Mill 2 cards, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I can see that getting some play. I think this is really going to be heavy on what is in green and what is in the artifacts. Although probably on Arena, it might see a little bit more play because people play with 200 card decks. Or 300 card decks. Where I swear they're putting every card in Standard in their deck. Dusk Mangler, 7 mana. Okay, right there. I'm just going to say, whatever this card is, having not read it, it's stupid. It's a stupid card. No one's going to play it. I can tell you that just by looking at 3 things. Dusk Mangler, 7 mana, and it's an uncommon. But let's see. Oh, shit. As an additional cost to cast this creature, you have to sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay for a life. Whoa. Okay. Stop right there. For 7 mana and an additional cost. Now you're putting an additional cost, and it's an uncommon? Well, this better be the best uncommon ever. Let's see. When Dusk Mangler enters the battlefield, each opponent Are you kidding? Are you seriously kidding? Each opponent sacrifices a creature, discards a card, and loses 4 life. Glad they made that 7 mana to do. What is wrong with you? Nobody's going to play this card. First off, because it costs 7 mana. It's only a 5/4. Now, if it was like a 10/10 and it had all this, and it was 7 mana, and it was an uncommon, okay, yeah, maybe people will play it. But this is 7 mana. I know I keep focusing on that. Trust me, one of the major cards that got me into this game was an 11. A card that costed 11 for an 11/11. This, or was it a 10? I can't remember. There's been so many Colossuses. But this, it's ridiculous. 7 mana for an uncommon. I'll tell you right now, it's been my experience. The higher cost you go with uncommons and commons, less likely people are going to play them. They better have one kick-ass ability. And this, they have to sack a creature, discard a card, and they lose 4 life. Hell, losing 4 life is probably the best thing on there. Remember, the entire point of the game is to, that's right, make your opponent hit 0. How many cards they hold in their hand? Unless you're running a discard deck, not important. In those discard decks, they ain't worried about your opponent sacrificing a creature most of the time because they ain't had a creature to play. They're very little worried about your opponent losing life because, well, they're not going to have any cards to play. And the few creatures you're going to have in aren't really going to have anything to block or stop. Discard decks work because of 3 things. A, 50% of the cards discard. Another 25% kill creatures right up front. And the other 25% are creatures that can either kill, block, or deal damage. Meaning creatures with death touch, creatures with flying. Not something like this. Maybe somehow this will see play. I don't know. I don't think it will. I think, like I said, just like as soon as I saw this top part, I'm like, nope. And no, I don't. I have a focus thing. I have to focus and read. So when I saw this, I'm like, I haven't even seen what this bottom part is. I'm just looking right here at the top, and I can tell you it already sucks by this. And maybe that's, like I said, just me, but I don't think it's going to do much. Extract the Truth for 2 mana. That's a pretty good picture. Choose one. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a creature, enchantment, or planeswalker card from it, and that player discards it. Target player sacrifices an enchantment. Now, this card would see a lot more play. I could see people using that against me. I don't see anybody using that. Sorry, I know. I'm focused on it. Fake your own death. 2 till end of turn. Target creature gets +2/+0, gains. When this creature dies, returns to the battlefield. Tap, blah, 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 blah. And you create a token. So basically, it's like all those others, except he gets a temporary boost. And if he still dies, then he comes back, tapped, and you get a token instead of a counter. Not bad. I like it. That's definitely going to see a lot of play. A lot of play, I mean. Like, people are going to run that into the ground, probably. Grinder Goons. 5 mana. Probably going to suck. When it dies, create a 2/2 Black Rogue token. It has Blitz. Really? Really, Wizards? Blitz? For 4 mana. If you cast this spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste. And when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it beginning the next end step. So it's just like that other ability almost. What was that? I forget what it was called now. But there was something from like Dragons of Tarkir or the Tarkir block. Only I think it was it gains haste. You bring it into play, but then at the end of the turn it goes back to your hand. This is you just straight up kill it at the end of turn. And this creature dies. So basically, you play this for 4. You play this for 2, giving it a bump up for a to a 6/4. You attack. Whether they block it or not, it dies at the end, but then it comes back, and you get to keep it around. I don't know. That might see some play, but probably not a lot. Graveyard Shift for 5 mana. This spell has flash as long as there are 5 or more mana value among cards in your graveyard. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That could see some play, probably. Grizzly Sigil. For 1, it has casualty 1. Target creature or planeswalker. Choose a target creature or planeswalker. If it was dealt damage this turn, Grizzly Sigil deals 3 damage to it, and you gain 3 life. Otherwise, it deals 1 damage to it, and you gain 1 life. That'll probably see some play. I can see that in a black-red deck. Illicit Shipment for 5 mana. Casualty 3. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That's probably going to see a lot of play. Especially since you can copy it. Search out for 2 cards. Hell, I just thought of a card right offhand. Put that in the instant win deck. And all I need from that, aside from This and the other cards I mentioned already, the biggest thing I need that I know of is World Tree. Incriminate. Choose two target creatures controlled by the same player. That player sacrifices one of them. Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to see play. Lots and lots and lots of play. Join the Maestros. Casualty 2. Create a 4/3 black warrior ogre creature token. Maestros Initiate for 3 mana. He has pay 5 mana. Exile it from your graveyard, draw 2 cards. So basically, these effects are once it's in the graveyard, so you don't even really want it in your hand. Oh, Midnight Assassin's probably going to do really well. 3 mana, it's a 1/2 flying death touch, just needs first strike. Murder. If you don't know what murder is, it will see play. Nightclubber. Murder's been reprinted for some time. It used to be something else, but they've changed the name over the years, and now you can have like probably 20 different cards that all do the exact same thing for the exact same price. But Nightclubber, 2 black and 0 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponent controls gets -1 and -1 till end of turn. You can blitz it for the same price as the card's actual cost if you want to give it haste and sack it at the end of turn. Any of these blitz cards, though, you could just probably, I wouldn't see why you couldn't just play something like Fake Your Own Death right after on it, giving it a bump and letting it die and bringing it back all in the same turn. So technically your opponent's going to lose any 1/1s, then it's going to lose any 2/2s before the turn is done. Because it'll die and then it'll come right back. Because you'll sack it, then revive it, and it'll trigger off again, but this time you'll actually get to keep it. At least I'm pretty sure that's how that works. And that other card, it's not like that's the only version of that we have. We have other versions of that same card that just do slightly different things. Anyways, Raffine Silencer for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. When it dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -X until end of turn, where X is its power. So it could either lose a 1/1 or it could lose 2/2, and it lets you find other ways to give it, extra power. I could probably think of a couple. Revel Ruiner. 4 mana for a 3/1. Looks like a Twi'lek from Star Wars. Menace. And it has, when it enters the battlefield, it connives. Rogue's Gallery. Now that really looks a lot like the cover art or the cover of The Usual Suspects. For each color, return up to 1 target creature card of that color from your graveyard to your hand. So basically, refresh your hand if you're running. This would be good in a 5-color deck, because that's where you can max out the ability of this. Probably the best. Sanguine Spy. Another vampire with menace and lifelink, so you could probably see some play before vampires go out. Sacrifice another creature. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 5 or more mana values in your graveyard, blah blah blah, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Well, it only doesn't say you can only do it once. So yeah, go ahead, pay all your life, you know. This would honestly probably be a good card with a green-white deck, just because you could be building up your life so much that it won't matter. But other than that, I don't see it getting a lot of play. Shadow of Mortality. And holy crap. Why is it not a bigger... For 13 mana and 2 black, that's 15 altogether, Shadow of Mortality. Avatar. It's only a 7/7. If your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the difference. So if you are at 10, then this only costs you 5 for 7/7. Not too bad. It could see some play. But generally speaking, you really don't want to be losing. Shakedown Heavy for 3 menace. When it attacks, defending player may have you draw a card. If they do, untap Heavy and remove it from combat. That could see some play too. Tavern Swindler. Pay 3 life, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain 6 life. We've had this before. It's seen play, but only in certain conditions, so. Treacherous Underdog. Blitz, pay 2 life. For 2 mana, he's a 3/2. When you cast Treacherous Underdog from your graveyard using its Bliss ability, you may cast it using its Blitz ability, but then it would just die anyways, so. I can maybe see that getting some play. Like I said, it depends what else we're going to see in this series, so. Vampires. I'm not even going to try that word. I don't know it. Vampire Warlock with flying. Whenever you gain life during your turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever you lose life during your turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. That's going to see a lot of play. Tell you the truth, just look at this. Pay 2 life. Well, I just lost life. And then I brought in a creature. I gain life. Yeah, that's going to see a lot of play. That's a good card. Whack. This spell costs 3 less if you cast it. If it targets a white creature. Target creature, it's -4/-4 till end of turn. I don't know. It should have been like I think it should have been like murder, except at instant speed. That's what they should have made that. Murder's already instant. Never mind. Or for 2 mana, sorcery, kill, destroy target creature. I don't know. I just felt like it should have been just like the other. It's practically what is referred to as the same thing. But that has been Black and Blue. When we come back tomorrow, I will do Red and Green. Then I'll do Multicolored and Artifacts later that day. Uh, it is after midnight where I am, so I do want to say Happy Easter, everybody. I hope you're having a good time with family and friends. So, with that said, I do want to ask that if you have not, please subscribe to this channel. I hope you're enjoying this sneak peek of the new set. If there's anything you want me to add or take away or do differently, just feel free to let me know so I can make this a better experience for all of us. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and end this here and wish you all the best. And if you haven't check out my book series, The Guardian of Light. I would really appreciate it. It would mean the world to me and my daughter. If you like this, please check out some of our other videos. And I'll